The scent of antiseptic and silence filled the private clinic. The ticking clock on the wall sounded louder than Jerry Williams' heartbeat. The 32-year-old billionaire sat still, his posture as sharp as his navy suit, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of vulnerability. Dr. Odigun, a calm, gray-haired man in his 50s, sighed and set the medical report down. "Mr. Williams," he said gently, "your results show nothing physically wrong. Your body is healthy. What you're facing isn't medical, it's emotional. Your mind blocks you from intimacy." Jerry's brow furrowed. "You mean I can't?" He hesitated, the words feeling heavy. "Perform?" The doctor nodded solemnly. "Until you find genuine connection, real emotion, that part of you may remain dormant." Jerry gave a dry smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Real emotion," he repeated softly, standing. "That doesn't exist anymore." As he left the clinic, the fluorescent lights cast a lonely shadow across his face. Outside, the evening sun glowed gold over the city, but inside Jerry's heart, only emptiness lived. The long driveway of Jerry's mansion stretched beneath tall palms swaying gently in the evening wind. The villa wasn't ostentatious, its beauty lay in simplicity: cream walls, gold lighting, and marble floors that gleamed under the fading sun. Jerry walked in quietly, unbuttoning his shirt. He passed the servants without a word, his presence commanding yet distant. To everyone he was the untouchable man of power. To himself he was hollow. He stepped into his bedroom, spacious yet warm, with walnut furniture, white linens, and soft golden curtains. He went straight into the shower, letting the water wash away the numbness in his chest. When he stepped out minutes later, wrapping a white towel loosely around his waist, he stopped in his tracks. A young woman stood by his bed, Juliana Benson, 23, newly hired. She was petite, with smooth dark skin that glowed in the warm light, and her hair was neatly tied in a bun. She wore a crisp black and white maid uniform and moved with quiet grace as she tucked the sheets. Jerry froze. His breath caught, and for a moment time felt still. Juliana turned, startled, her eyes widening. "Oh, good evening, sir. I didn't realize you were." Her words trailed off as her gaze met his. The billionaire, bare-chested, droplets of water still glistening on his skin, stood only a few steps away, staring at her as if she were something unreal. Their eyes locked. Something inside him stirred, a warmth, a heartbeat, a pulse of desire that defied the doctor's verdict. He hadn't felt this in years. "What's your name?" Jerry asked, his voice lower than he intended. "Juliana, sir," she whispered, clutching the bedsheet nervously. He repeated her name softly, as though it carried meaning. "Juliana." He took a slow step forward. Her breath quickened, but she didn't move away. His hand lifted, almost hesitantly, brushing her cheek. The touch sent a tremor through them both. Their eyes met again, and the world beyond that room disappeared. His lips found hers, cautious at first, then deep and consuming. Juliana gasped, surprised by her own reaction. The kiss became hunger and emotion tangled together. They stumbled toward the bed, the towel loosening, the air thick with confusion and need. And then nothing else mattered. Morning light poured through the cream curtains. The gold of dawn painted the bed where Jerry and Juliana lay half-naked beneath the sheets. Juliana's eyes opened first. For a moment she didn't move, then realization struck and she bolted upright, clutching the blanket to her chest. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Did we?" Jerry stirred beside her, groggy, his hair disheveled. He looked at her, then at himself. "But the doctor said," he began, his voice cracking in disbelief. Neither could finish the thought. The truth was clear in their silence. Juliana turned away, her heart pounding. "I don't know what came over me, sir. I couldn't control myself." He dressed quietly, fastening his watch, his voice low with regret. "It shouldn't have happened. I'm sorry, Juliana." "It's fine, sir. Let's just forget it ever happened," she murmured. When she finally opened the bedroom door, two maids pushing a cleaning cart froze. Their eyes widened at the sight of her emerging from Jerry's room. The hallway filled with unspoken words. "Did she sleep in his room?" One whispered. "Looks like it." The other muttered, smirking. Juliana walked past them, her face burning. She didn't look back. That night, Jerry sat in his study, the quiet room lined with bookshelves and a single golden lamp casting light on his desk. He stared at the small velvet box before him. Inside lay a delicate gold bracelet he had picked up that afternoon. He closed his eyes, remembering the warmth of her skin, the way her eyes trembled when she met his. Something inside him had changed. The man who once felt nothing now couldn't stop thinking about her. He pressed the intercom. "Mrs. Tilda," he said to the head housekeeper, Send this gift to Juliana Benson. But each time he sent something, Juliana refused politely, avoiding his eyes whenever they crossed paths. For the first time, rejection stung him, not from pride but from longing. Days passed. Juliana buried herself in work, trying to erase what happened. But one afternoon, as she dusted a marble vase in the main hallway, a wave of dizziness washed over her. The room spun, her knees weakened. Before she could fall, strong arms caught her. Juliana. Jerry's voice filled with panic. He lifted her effortlessly and carried her to his bedroom, laying her gently on his bed. Her face was pale, her breath unsteady. Jerry's heartbeat thundered. Within minutes, his private doctor arrived, carrying his bag. After a few tests, the doctor stepped aside, his expression unreadable. "Mr. Williams," he said quietly, "she's pregnant. She needs rest." Jerry's heart froze. He looked at Juliana, sleeping, fragile, unaware. "Pregnant?" he whispered. The doctor nodded and left them alone. Jerry stood by her bedside, emotion flickering across his face, shock, fear, and a tenderness he didn't recognize. From that day, everything changed. He forbade her from working and ordered new dresses for her. Modest, elegant, beautiful. He arranged private dinners, drove her out for quiet evenings, and made sure she had everything she needed. The other maids whispered in jealousy, but Jerry didn't care. For the first time, the man who once couldn't feel anything had finally felt everything. The afternoon sun cast a golden warmth across Jerry Williams' study. The walls, lined with walnut shelves and framed art, felt heavier than usual. Jerry stood by the window, hands in his pockets, watching the fountain in the garden shimmer under the light. The doctor's words still echoed in his head, "She's pregnant." He turned his gaze to the bed in the adjoining room, where Juliana lay resting. Her face looked peaceful, innocent, unaware of the storm shed stirred in him. Mrs. Tilda, the housekeeper, stood near the door, waiting for instructions. "Sir," she said cautiously, "should we call her family?" "Maybe." Jerry cut her off softly. "No. She stays here. She needs care and comfort. Make sure she doesn't lift a finger." Mrs. Tilda blinked in surprise. "But sir, the staff will talk." "Let them," he replied firmly, his tone sharp but his eyes soft. He turned back to the window. For years, he had been a man of stone, emotions buried beneath success and power. But now, with one act, one night, everything had changed. He had never planned to feel, yet here he was, thinking only of her. When Juliana opened her eyes, the room felt strange. It wasn't the servants' quarters, it was Jerry's bedroom. The soft gold curtains filtered the daylight, and the faint scent of cologne filled the air. She slowly sat up, her head spinning. Jerry sat beside her on the couch, wearing a simple white shirt and black trousers. His expression softened the moment she looked at him. "You're awake," he said gently. "How are you feeling?" "I am fine, sir. I don't know what happened." "You fainted," he replied. "The doctor said you need rest." Her heart quickened. "The doctor? He saw me?" Jerry hesitated, then nodded. "He did. Juliana." He paused, his voice lower, careful. "You're pregnant." Juliana froze, her hands trembling as she pressed them against her stomach. No, that can't be. Sir, please, He reached for her hand, his eyes calm but determined. "Don't panic. You're safe here. I'll take care of everything." She looked up at him, confused. "Why? After what happened, I thought you'd send me away." "I was a fool that night," he said quietly. "But you don't deserve punishment for what was never planned. You're carrying something precious now, our child." The word, "our," made her heart twist. She couldn't speak. Tears filled her eyes, though she didn't know if they were from fear or gratitude. By the next morning, the mansion had changed. The maids' whispers traveled faster than the breeze. In the kitchen, two maids spoke in hushed tones as they arranged breakfast trays. "Did you hear? She's pregnant." The billionaire's maid pregnant? Impossible. He's protecting her, she's staying in his wing now. Everywhere Juliana went, eyes followed her. Jerry noticed. That evening, as he crossed the hallway, he saw two maids giggling as Juliana passed. His gaze turned cold enough to silence them instantly. When he reached Juliana, he spoke softly. "If anyone disrespects you, tell me. They work for me, not against you." "It's okay, sir," she said, lowering her head. "They're just talking." "And I'm listening," he replied sharply. "You don't deserve their cruelty." For the first time, Juliana saw something in him she hadn't before: protectiveness. It made her chest ache in ways she couldn't name. Jerry started doing things no one expected. He ordered a separate dining space beside the garden, modestly arranged with soft lanterns, flowers, and elegant dinnerware. He invited Juliana every evening, though she hesitated at first. On their first dinner, she wore one of the soft pastel dresses had bought, a simple flowing gown that complemented her dark skin and made her look radiant under the amber lights. Jerry watched her quietly, sipping wine, while she picked at her food nervously. "You're not eating," he observed. "It feels strange, sir, sitting here with you." "Jerry," he corrected gently. "When we're alone, call me Jerry." She looked at him in disbelief. "I can't. You're my employer." "Not tonight," he said with a faint smile. "Tonight we're just two people, trying to understand what fate did to us." His words hung between them, delicate and dangerous. Cinematic moment. The lantern light glowed warmly on her face as she finally smiled, a small, timid smile that made his heart stutter. Days passed. Jerry made sure Juliana never overworked. He brought her books, decorated her new quarters with flowers, and spent quiet moments with her in the garden. But the more time they spent together, the heavier his feelings grew. He'd catch himself staring when she laughed, mesmerized by how natural she was. Late one evening, Jerry sat in his study, staring at her photo on his phone. His reflection in the window seemed to question him. "You're falling for her, Jerry." He leaned back, rubbing his temples. This wasn't supposed to happen, he whispered to himself. But it already had. The other maids began to show open resentment. They would pause their work whenever Juliana passed, whispering behind her back. Some would forget her meals or leave her tasks undone just to cause trouble. One morning, as Juliana entered the kitchen, a maid named Cynthia, bold and jealous, smirked. The boss favorite him? Must be nice to rise from cleaning floors to sleeping in luxury. Juliana froze, her face burning. Before she could respond, Jerry's voice echoed from the doorway. "Cynthia." The maids jumped. Jerry stood there, his dark eyes piercing. "Pack your things. You're dismissed." "Sir, please, I don't tolerate disrespect. Not to me and not to her." The silence that followed was heavy. When he turned to Juliana, his expression softened. "You shouldn't have to endure that." Her eyes glistened. "You didn't have to defend me like that, sir." "I didn't have to," he said, "but I wanted to." That evening, rain pattered against the window as thunder rolled softly. Juliana sat by the fire in the lounge, wrapped in a blanket. Jerry entered quietly, carrying a tray of hot tea. "You should be resting," he said, setting it down. "I can't sleep," she admitted. "Too many thoughts." He sat across from her. The firelight flickered, painting gold shadows across their faces. "Juliana," he said finally, "I don't know what this is between us, but I know I can't stop thinking about you." Her eyes widened. "Sir, Jerry, please don't say that." "It's the truth," he whispered. "That night, I didn't understand it. But you made me feel alive again." Tears filled her eyes as she turned away. "And now I've ruined your life with this pregnancy." He stood, walked closer, and gently lifted her chin until their eyes met. "You didn't ruin anything. You gave it meaning." Silence fell between them, broken only by the rain. The billionaire and the maid, two souls tied by a mistake that had become something far more powerful. In that moment, neither spoke another word, but everything had already been said. The morning sunlight filtered softly through the cream curtains of Jerry's mansion, touching everything in a warm glow, the polished marble floors, the white lilies in the vase, and the gentle rhythm of footsteps echoing down the hall. Juliana stood near the window, wearing a simple cream maternity gown that fit her gently swelling figure. Her dark chocolate skin glowed faintly under the morning light, her hands resting subconsciously over her small bump. Jerry watched her from the doorway, silently. He had seen countless women in his life, models, socialites, women who chased his wealth, but none had ever made his heart tighten the way this maid did, standing barefoot in the sunlight, looking fragile yet strong. "You should be resting," he said softly, walking closer. Juliana turned, smiling faintly. "I can't sleep when everyone else is working. Doesn't feel right." He shook his head gently. "You're not everyone else." His words made her heart skip. He stopped close, his scent, a mix of cedarwood and cologne, wrapping around her. For a brief second, their eyes locked, unspoken feelings flickering like the morning rays between them. The spell broke when Mrs. Tilda cleared her throat at the door. "Sir, breakfast is ready." Jerry turned, his voice calm but firm. "Bring it here. We'll eat together." Mrs. Tilda blinked in surprise but obeyed. As the older woman left, Juliana whispered, "You don't have to do this, sir. People already talk." Jerry met her gaze. "Let them talk. I stopped caring about what people think the moment I saw you faint that day." Her heart fluttered again. She didn't answer, but her silence said everything. Later that afternoon, Jerry took Juliana out to the garden. The sun was mild, a soft golden light filtering through palm leaves and flower vines. The air smelled of roses and earth after a light rain. Juliana walked slowly beside him, her hand occasionally brushing his. She wore a flowing pastel yellow gown that complemented her glowing skin. "This place feels different," she said softly. "Peaceful." "That's why I built it," Jerry replied, smiling faintly. "To find peace, though I didn't realize peace was a person until now." Juliana blushed, looking down. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why not? They're true." He turned to her, eyes filled with warmth, the same eyes that once held nothing but control and indifference. For a moment, he reached for her hand. She hesitated but didn't pull away. Then laughter echoed from a distance, two maids passing by with baskets, whispering and watching. Juliana's hand slipped away quickly. Jerry's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Instead, he simply walked beside her again, silently vowing that one day, he'd make her walk beside him without fear. Inside the mansion, the atmosphere had shifted. Whispers moved like smoke. In the laundry room, the maid spoke quietly while folding linens. "She doesn't even work anymore, yet she eats with him. He bought her dresses, can you imagine? They say she's carrying his child." Mrs. Tilda overheard them and slammed a drawer shut. "Enough. Mind your work," she snapped. But even she couldn't deny, things were changing. Later that evening, when Jerry entered the main dining room, silence swept through the servants. Every gaze followed him as he walked toward Juliana's table. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered nervously. "I'm the owner," he said simply. "I can be anywhere I choose." Then he sat beside her, ignoring the whispers, his every gesture calm and deliberate, cutting steak for her, pouring her water, speaking to her softly. And in that quiet defiance he made something clear: she wasn't just a maid anymore. She was his. A few weeks later, Jerry's private doctor returned to check on Juliana. She sat on the edge of the bed, nervous, while Jerry stood near the window, arms crossed but anxious. Dr. Bernard smiled gently. "The baby's strong. Everything looks good." Relief washed over Jerry's face. "Thank you, doctor." After the doctor left, Juliana spoke quietly. "You care so much. I don't understand why." Jerry turned to her. "Because you're carrying something I never thought I'd have." He sat beside her, his voice trembling slightly. "I was told I could never be whole again. That I couldn't feel. That I couldn't be a man." Juliana looked at him, eyes wide. "But the day I saw you, something changed. And now this child. Both of you are proof that I'm still human." Tears welled in her eyes. She had never seen him so vulnerable, the mighty billionaire revealing the ache behind his silence. She reached out, her hand covering his. "You've always been human, Jerry. You just needed someone to remind you." The moment lingered, raw, emotional, and beautiful. Later that night, as Juliana walked through the corridor carrying a folded blanket, Cynthia, the dismissed maid who had been allowed to stay on probation, stepped out of the shadows. "You think you've won?" Cynthia hissed. "You're nothing but a servant with luck." Juliana froze. "Please, Cynthia, I don't want trouble." "Then stop pretending to be the boss wife." Before Juliana could respond, Jerry's voice echoed sharply. "Cynthia." He stood behind them, tall, powerful, anger simmering beneath his calm expression. "You've said enough." Cynthia tried to speak, but he cut her off. "You're done here. Leave my house before I change my mind." She glared at Juliana one last time before storming off. Juliana turned, her voice trembling. "You didn't have to." "Yes, I did," Jerry interrupted. "No one disrespects you. Not while I'm here." The sincerity in his tone shook her more than the confrontation itself. That weekend, Jerry hosted a small private dinner with business associates. The mansion glittered with soft lights, the dining hall alive with quiet music and polite laughter. Juliana, though hesitant, came down the grand staircase wearing a simple but elegant ivory gown Jerry had chosen for her. Her skin glowed under the chandeliers, her presence turned heads. Jerry's eyes found her immediately. He excused himself from his guests and crossed the room to meet her. "You look breathtaking," he whispered, taking her hand. "Jerry, everyone's watching," she murmured. "Let them." Then, without warning, he led her into a slow dance. The guests watched in silence, shocked, curious, whispering. But for Jerry and Juliana, the world had blurred away. The music swelled softly as his hand rested on her back, his eyes never leaving hers. "Juliana," he said quietly, "I don't know what the future holds, but I know this. You've awakened something in me that I thought was dead." She swallowed hard, trying not to cry. "And you've shown me that even love born from a mistake can still be real." The song ended, but their gaze held, long, unbroken, and full of unspoken promises. Later that night, Juliana sat by the window in her new room, staring at the stars above. The mansion was quiet, the world at peace. She touched her stomach gently, whispering, "What are we doing, little one? What kind of story are we part of?" Behind her, Jerry appeared at the door, shirt unbuttoned at the collar, his face tired but soft. "Can't sleep?" he asked. She shook her head. "Just thinking." He walked closer, standing beside her as the moonlight wrapped around them both. "So am I," he said softly. "Every night I think about how one unexpected night could change my whole life." Juliana turned to him, eyes glistening. Maybe it wasn't a mistake after all. He smiled faintly. Maybe it wasn't. They stood there, side by side, looking out at the silver moonlight spilling across the garden. Two hearts, once broken by circumstance, now beating in quiet, forbidden harmony. And somewhere deep inside both of them, love began to bloom, fragile, pure, and unstoppable. The night was a soft whisper outside the mansion walls. Rain had just stopped falling, leaving the scent of wet earth drifting through the open balcony doors. Moonlight bathed Jerry's master bedroom in silver. The curtains swayed gently, and a half-empty glass of whiskey rested beside his untouched laptop. Jerry Williams, 32, stood shirtless by the balcony rail. His dark skin shimmered faintly under the moon, revealing the sculpted strength of a man who rarely allowed himself to feel weakness. His eyes, calm but haunted, gazed down at the garden where Juliana sometimes sat during her breaks. He had never been a man who lost control. Yet one night, one fragile moment, and his life had changed. When the soft knock came on his door, he turned, expecting his butler. Instead, Juliana stood there, barefoot, wearing her simple cream nightdress, her eyes wide with hesitation. "Sir, I'm sorry. I saw your light still on," she murmured. "I just wanted to check if you're all right." Jerry didn't answer immediately. The warm lamplight framed her in gold, her dark brown skin glowing softly against the pale fabric. For a long, silent beat, he only stared. "I'm fine, Juliana," he finally said, voice deep, steady, but it trembled slightly at the edge. "Go back to bed." But she didn't move. "You don't look fine, sir." Something inside him cracked. He exhaled, turned away, and whispered, "Some nights I wish I could forget everything." The moonlight shifted across his face, half in shadow, half in light. She saw pain, not pride, in his eyes. Later that night, Jerry sat in his study, walls lined with books, a dim desk lamp glowing amber over scattered papers. Rain began again, tapping against the glass like restless fingers. He held a photograph in his hand. It was of a woman with long braids and soft eyes, his late fiancée, Amanda. She died in an accident 3 years ago. Since then, had built his empire on steel and silence, allowing no one close. Juliana stood quietly in the doorway, hesitant. She'd come to return his forgotten jacket from the balcony. But when she saw the photo in his hand, her chest tightened. Jerry looked up, startled. "You shouldn't be here." "I'm sorry," she said softly, stepping closer. "But sometimes holding on to pain keeps it alive." Her words were simple, but they cut deep. He looked at her again, really looked, and something fragile stirred in his chest. "Go to bed, Juliana," he said again, but his voice had lost its edge. As she turned to leave, his gaze lingered on the curve of her silhouette against the lamplight. For the first time in years, the darkness in his heart felt less suffocating. The following morning, sunlight filtered gently through cream curtains. The house was calm, only the faint sounds of birds came from the garden. Juliana was cleaning the sitting room when Jerry walked in, wearing a white shirt with the sleeves rolled and dark slacks. He looked rested but distant. "Good morning, sir," she greeted, her tone professional. He nodded. "Good morning. Did you sleep well?" Her smile was small but sincere. "Better than usual." For a second their eyes met, steady, searching. The air between them thickened with unspoken thoughts. Then footsteps echoed from the hall. Cynthia, another maid, entered, carrying fresh linens. Her eyes narrowed at the sight of them standing too close. Juliana quickly stepped back. Jerry noticed, his jaw tightening slightly. But he said nothing. Instead, he turned and left, leaving both women in uneasy silence. Later that afternoon, Juliana brought lunch to Jerry's private home office. He was seated behind his mahogany desk, typing on his laptop. Sunlight from the large windows highlighted the sharp lines of his face, the silver watch glinting on his wrist. "Leave it there," he said without looking up. She obeyed, placing the tray gently on the table. But when she turned, her hand brushed against the corner of a file, knocking it over. Papers scattered across the floor. "I'm so sorry." she exclaimed, kneeling quickly to pick them up. Jerry crouched too, his hand reaching for the same paper, and their fingers touched. The moment froze. Her warm skin against his, her dark eyes lifting to meet his, so close he could feel her breath. Juliana. His voice dropped, low and unsure. I didn't mean to, she whispered. I know. He helped her up but didn't let go immediately. The sunlight through the window haloed them in golden glow. The world outside felt far away. By evening, whispers had spread across the mansion. The maids murmured in corners, the butler avoided eye contact, and Cynthia's jealousy grew sharper. She's not like us, Cynthia hissed to another maid. She's trying to trap him. Juliana heard the whispers as she passed by the corridor. Her heart clenched, but she said nothing. Later that night, Jerry found her outside by the fountain, wiping tears with the back of her hand. Who said something to you? He asked gently. She shook her head. It doesn't matter, sir. I just don't want to be the reason people look at you differently. Jerry took a slow step closer, his tone soft but firm. Let them talk. You've done nothing wrong. For a moment, the only sound was the soft splashing of the fountain and the hum of crickets. Then, almost instinctively, he reached out, brushing a tear from her cheek. The contact sent a shiver through them both. Good night, Juliana, he whispered. Good night, sir, she replied, voice trembling slightly. As he walked away, her hand lingered where head touched her heart beating faster than she could control. Hours later, Jerry lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Juliana's voice echoed in his mind, gentle, honest, untouched by greed. He realized how long it had been since someone had spoken to him like that. He sat up, running a hand through his hair. The city lights outside glimmered faintly against the window pane. Somewhere deep inside he knew this feeling was dangerous, but it was also real. He whispered to the darkness as though confessing to himself, I can't keep pretending I don't feel something for her. The camera would pull back slowly, through the window, over the garden where Juliana's light still glowed faintly in her room, until both of them were just two lonely souls under one restless sky. Morning sunlight spilled through the grand windows of the Williams estate, yet the air inside felt tense and heavy. Whispers spread faster than the wind. Two maids huddled near the staircase, voices low but sharp. They said Mr. Williams has been spending nights with her. It's true. The head housekeeper saw him carry her into his room again when she fainted. Their words echoed like poison. Juliana walked past, carrying a basket of fresh linens, her face pale. Her dark brown eyes avoided theirs, but her heart pounded painfully. The entire mansion seemed to stare at her now. Every step, every glance felt judged. And Jerry noticed it too. From his upstairs balcony, he watched her disappear down the hall, shoulders trembling. His fists clenched. He had spent years commanding power, but now for the first time he felt powerless to protect what he cared about most. Later that day, the mansion's marble-floored living hall was silent except for the echo of Jerry's polished shoes. The head housekeeper stood before him, nervously twisting her hands. Sir, the staff are talking. About you and Juliana. Jerry's jaw tightened. And what exactly are they saying? That she's using you, sir. That she's carrying your child. He froze. The words hit him harder than a storm. The truth was she was pregnant, had learned it from his private doctor just days ago. But no one else was supposed to know. Juliana entered just then, holding a tray, unaware of the conversation. When she saw Jerry's expression, cold, pained, unreadable, her hand trembled and the tray clattered softly against the table. Sir? She whispered. The housekeeper excused herself. The air between them thickened. Juliana. He began, voice low and uncertain. You should have told me first. Tears welled in her eyes. I was afraid, sir. I didn't even know how to face you. I thought you'd think I did it on purpose. He took a step toward her, then another, until they were inches apart. I don't think that, he said softly. I think fate just forced me to feel again, through you. That night, the sky above the city burned gold and violet as the sun set behind the hills. Jerry drove Juliana to a quiet coastal villa he owned, far from gossip, far from judgment. The sea breeze drifted through open curtains, filling the air with salt and calm. Juliana sat on the edge of the sofa, her hands resting on her belly. She wore a soft white gown Head bought her, simple but elegant. Jerry watched her silently from across the room, his eyes softer than she'd ever seen. I went to the doctor, Juliana, he said finally. He told me I'd never be able to perform again, that I could never be a full man. Her eyes widened. But that night, he smiled faintly, stepping closer. That night you changed everything. You made me feel alive, body and soul. I didn't believe it until I saw you in my room that morning. Juliana's lips trembled, tears spilling down. I thought it was wrong. But my heart wouldn't listen. Jerry knelt before her, taking her hand. It wasn't wrong. It was destiny. The warm orange glow of the sunset painted their faces as he gently kissed her hand, reverently, humbly, the gesture of a man who had found meaning again. Back at the mansion, Cynthia, the jealous maid, discovered the truth. Jerry had sent for Juliana's transfer to the main residence, not as staff but as his guest. Anger burned through her. She's just a maid. He can't choose her over us. But when Jerry and Juliana returned days later, the difference was clear. He didn't hide her anymore. He walked beside her through the marble hall, his hand lightly resting on her back. Every whisper died in awe. Jerry stopped before the gathered staff, his voice calm but commanding. From this day forward, Miss Juliana Benson is under my protection. You will show her the same respect you show me. The staff bowed their heads. Cynthia turned away, humiliated, tears of rage stinging her eyes. Juliana stood quietly beside him, overwhelmed. For the first time she realized he wasn't just defending her. He was claiming her. Months later, the Williams mansion glowed with soft afternoon light. The air smelled of jasmine from the garden. Jerry sat in his living room, wearing a simple gray shirt, holding a tiny newborn in his arms, a baby boy with warm brown skin and Juliana's delicate lips. Juliana sat beside him, her hair in soft curls, wearing a pastel blue silk gown. Her smile was full of light. "You've given me more than I ever dreamed," Jerry murmured, his voice breaking slightly. She laughed softly. "You just needed a reason to believe again." He looked at her, really looked, and the once cold billionaire's eyes glowed with warmth. The camera would pan outward. The elegant, modest luxury interior, cream walls, soft golden lighting, a marble fireplace flickering, surrounds them. Outside, the garden sparkled under the golden sun. Jerry leaned over and kissed Juliana's forehead. "You fixed more than my heart, Juliana. You fixed me." As the baby cooed softly in his arms, Juliana smiled, the image of peace and love. Wide aerial shot. The Williams estate bathed in sunset light, fountains glimmering, garden alive with color. Jerry, Juliana, and their baby stand on the balcony, the ocean breeze fluttering the curtains behind them. A gentle fade to gold as a single line appears. Some hearts don't beat until love teaches them how. If you enjoy this story, please like and subscribe for more of the story. See you again in the next story. Thank you for watching.